the Bowels of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! Alright, and welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. I'm Isaac, and with me as always is my fearless co-host Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
You know, I've mentioned on the show before that, Australia is my second favorite country besides the one I live in, which is only my favorite country reluctantly because I literally have to follow the laws of it. And I think the longer and the more stuff we do, like Australian movies and shows on this podcast, I don't know if I'm going to love Australia more or grow to hate it, and I'm really terrified to figure out which.
The landscape this was filmed in made me really want to go to Australia.
It looks gorgeous. I mean,
yeah.
I loved, I don't love is a strong word, I liked H2O.
You loved it.
I did.
Loved season 1.
I absolutely, I liked season 1 the most.
Got it.
That's still coming. It's just find a time. I haven't forgotten.
Well, we're going to go on tour to Australia in the late fall. That's
the late fall of 2035, when we're doing an entirely different show, because I don't know how you do this show live.
Nude, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm on board as long as you are.
Sure, fuck it.
What are obscenity laws in Australia? Are one of our thousands of Australian listeners, please write in.
I don't know if there are any.
Anyway, we are the Bowels of Netflix. We're two old friends. We hate each other. Every week, one of us forces the other one to watch the worst movie they can find on Netflix, and you get to hear all about it. So find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, send us an email, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. God damn it, we didn't check the email again. God damn it.
I don't think we have any, but it's good to check.
Can't hurt. But yeah, send an email in. We would like to hear from you. If you've seen any of these movies, if you have any suggestions of movies, if you just want to tell us how awful we are. Or I would love to see pictures of genitals. Ooh, we got an update from Apple Podcasts.
Oh, great.
Oh, we better still be on Apple Podcasts.
Jesus Christ, please help me.
I think we're good. I think that's just informational. Anyway, so, yeah. Rate and subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. It's the best podcast ever. Just tell, Joe Rogan to fuck off.
Yeah.
And we'll take the top spot back from him.
Tell him we're coming for him. Tell him to watch his kneecaps.
Damn straight.
And Mark Maron, we're coming for him too. He got old man kneecaps.
I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan has old man kneecaps that are filled with steroid juice.
I promise you, he would tell you that. I don't know. Fuck Joe Rogan. I don't want to talk about him. I don't like looking at him. I can't. The more time passes, the more the worm turns for me on Joe Rogan, and I'm like, I can't stand to listen to this dude anymore.
His neck is getting thicker and thicker. I mean, mine is too, but I guess that's just a part of aging.
Whatever.
So, I'm covering Riptide, which, at least there's not mermaids in it. I really thought when you told me the title, there was going to be mermaids. And
it sounds a little mermaidy.
I'm not able to cope with more mermaids. But this is not that.
Well,
so
we've been a little mermaid heavy.
This came out in 2017, so it's pretty recent. Its budget was not listed, but its worldwide gross was only 360,000 Australian dollar dues. I don't know what that translates to, but in America it's probably a Big Mac.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I want to give the American dollar any credit nowadays.
That is true.
It's certainly more than the pound, but I don't know anything about how Australian money works, so.
It's pretty short. Runtime's only 85 minutes. IMDb it as 5.5, but it's a teenage girl movie about a teenage girl finding herself. And not in that way, Larry. Come on.
I'm sorry, did we change roles at some point and I missed it?
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Who here licks screens with teenage girls on them?
I haven't licked a screen today.
Well, it's pretty early. It's only noon.
Yeah, it's true. Rotten Tomato Critic was not available because, this is a very tiny... I guess it was by an Australian production company. It was one of those bullshit, 4 different production companies at the beginning of the movie. None of them I recognized. I guess.
Not a lot of money to launder.
They at least didn't list the budget of this. Although it looked like it had a budget. It didn't look like it was made for $100,000 or something.
Jujitsu.
Yeah.
Well, it had a crazy high budget and then no return. I don't care.
Mm.
I don't want to talk about it.
Rotten Tomato audience is 49, so that's pretty much in line with IMDb. Again, teen girls are going to like teen girl movies like this.
Yeah,
more or less.
this didn't look like a knockout of the park. I just know you'll hate it.
Yeah, it was annoying, and there's enough stupid stuff, and there's a recurring bit which I didn't think would ever be a recurring bit, but now it's in like 4 episodes, so we'll get to that.
Oh, good.
God damn
Oh, good.
it all.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
We get a close-up montage to shitty pop music of our attractive female lead putting on makeup and doing photo shoots. We see magazines with her on the cover overlaid on Manhattan establishing shots, which my last fucking movie, What a Girl Wants, really should have taken lessons from, because these are actual video.
Oh my God.
So it looks like a movie.
I showed that opening bit to like 3 different people because I couldn't believe it was real.
It's so bad. Even for 2003 standards, it was bad.
It was horrible.
Oh, boy. So yeah, at least, and this is, I mean, it's maybe a little amateurish, because there's like kind of magazine overlays and weird like stuff, I don't know, that you make in Final Cut or something. It didn't seem super professional, but at the same time, it looked like if you were in film school, what your B+ student might make for their senior project.
Isaac, I'm going to give you a spoiler. Our movies basically start the same way.
Oh my God.
we have given my next week's episode is fucking what's it called? Airplane mode.
Airplane mode.
And yeah, I think just based on just the minute of yours I saw and the crawl, the description, I think we gave each other the same movie.
I think the premise of why the girl needs to get away is slightly different, but other than that, it's going to be the same movie.
Oh boy, this is interesting. It's funny how our fucking brains work.
Yeah, we're monsters.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
We cut to the model preparing for her big photo shoot with her high-octane business mother. The model says, "Hey Mom, I wanted to talk to you about college. I'd like to at least apply so I have some options." The mother is dismissive and gestures to another model at the photo shoot and says, "That gives you options."
Okay.
We find out that model's high school graduation is tomorrow, but her mother can't attend because she has a meeting regarding the model's contract with whatever modeling agency. So the mom's like her agent and one of the big modeling managers in New York. I don't know, some shit.
No.
And they have a fraught relationship.
Okay, one of those.
The model starts getting ready for her big photo shoot with a super famous photographer, but she, at the last second, decides to make some adjustments to her dress and puts on a different color of lipstick, which she says will draw attention to the neckline. The photographer has an overinflated ego and is a douchebag, and basically yells at her to shut up, stay still, look pretty, and let me do my job.
Classy.
Damn straight.
So, and they're all Australian, or they are not Australian?
No, this is in New York.
Is New York.
No one's
Okay.
Australian. Yeah. Model is overwhelmed and runs away crying and ends up tripping in the building's lobby where there's a whole bunch of paparazzi hungrily snapping photos and videos of her.
How much did you get paid to be a paparazzi that day, or did you just there unrelated? Were you just there in a trench coat, in a trash can, snapping pictures of teenage models? Or did you actually get paid for a day of work that day?
My compensation is running the mixture of perfume and tears as they run by. It's exhilarating. So yeah, this is her like giant. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's this crazy meltdown that's plastered all over social media. So we see model sitting under her sheets in her bed, looking at the social media shitstorm and quietly sobbing. But her tears slowly begin to subside, for fear not, the phone she's looking at this on is the Apple flagship from 2017, the iPhone XR.
Oh my God.
Still available, new at Apple stores for only $4.99. If you need a quality product, but you can only steal so much of your grandmother's jewelry, come shop for the iPhone XR at a store near you.
How is this becoming a running?
There's so much Apple product placement in these shitty movies.
Yeah.
And it's really very noticeable. It's like not even remotely hiding. Like, oh yeah, the actress just used her phone. It's like, no, the shot very clearly wants you to see it's an iPhone.
Weird.
God damn it.
Weird. That's a great bit. I mean, pretty sure it's not going to be. It would be very surprised if it's in your next movie, but that'd be funny if it was.
We'll see. Her mother's assistant comes into her bedroom to check on her, and Model flings a pillow and yells, "Why can't she check on me herself?" Model then opens a birthday card from her cool surfer aunt down in Australia, and we have a flashback to her childhood surfing and beach memories in the land down under.
Okay.
Yeah. Model buys a plane ticket to Australia with her mother's credit card. So her mom finds out because of the credit card bill. So while Model's waiting at the gate, her mother shows up and tries to convince Model not to leave because people like us can't afford mistakes. Don't be so melodramatic.
Okay.
Model tells her mom she's basically a bitch who's never cared about her or what she actually wants to do, and tells her to fuck off, and she gets on the plane. Her ticket, of course, is first class, and we see her flipping through a copy of Vogue magazine, which has pictures from her meltdown in it, and we overhear some of the other passengers sniggering, "That's her! That's the model who cried and fell down. What a bitch."
Isaac, it's so weird how similar our movies are.
I can't
It's
even.
so weird.
I can't.
It's so fucking strange.
This is so bizarre. So, to be fair, I've flown very rarely in my life, and I've never flown first class, obviously, because I'm a schlub. The flight attendant comes by and hands Model her boarding pass to her next flight, while they're still on, like, in the air. I don't think that's how that works, but maybe it does for rich people.
Wait. I don't know. My brain fucking stopped for a second. Say that again?
So the flight attendant comes by and hands the Model her boarding pass for her next flight.
Like
her connecting flight.
No, shut up. No, that's not what happens. That's not accurate.
That can't be accurate. But again, I've never been in first class. So, I mean, I know they give out, like, hand jobs and champagne like candy. So, who knows? At any rate.
Yeah, sure.
The Model looks at the ticket and says, "Well, there seems to be a mistake. I'm booked for first class." And the flight attendant smiles and says, "There's no first class on a prop plane, but I'm sure you'll have fun." So, yeah, she's got a little adjusting to do. We see a middle-aged couple waking up together in bed and being very affectionate and loving and like the bright, dewy sunshine morning. And then we see it's just a dream, and the middle-aged lady wakes up alone in the middle of the night. This is the Model's aunt, whose husband recently died when a kangaroo got stuck in the yeast vat down at the Foster's factory and exploded his face off. So, aunt's a widow.
I should give you only Australian movies, just so your accent is perfect.
It's getting better and better. We see the widow aunt and her dumpy old friend doing Tai Chi on a grassy cliff by the ocean at dawn.
Dumpy old aunt.
Well, the aunt isn't dumpy. She's like that. There should be a transition word between MILF and GILF. I guess AILF? Like, Anne I'd like to fuck?
I mean, well, yeah, you're just changing the first word. What is her relationship to the... Well, yeah, I guess you can't... Aunt I'd like to fuck doesn't work, because whose aunt is it?
Right, and you could have an aunt who's, like, very... You could
I
have
guess
an aunt
she's
who's
still
barely
a MILF
legal.
In that case.
I guess, but, like, she's definitely... Because usually, like, MILF, I don't know. I feel like the cutoff of MILF is 40, and she's, like, 50. Anyway, we need to get the committee together.
Middle-aged, a MILF, a middle-aged woman I'd like to fuck. A MILF. God, this is just great. We're really endearing ourselves to the public with this.
The aunt is, like, you know, fit and bangable, but her friend is dumpy and old.
Again, oh man, this is great. This is really, I can't wait to get this brought up in 10 years. Can't wait to see this on a Reddit thread.
There's nothing wrong with being dumpy and old. You live your best old dumpy life. I'm living a young dumpy life.
Oh yeah, I'm living the dumpiest. The dumpiest.
So the dumpy old friend is actually that won't be her name. She's actually the aunt's mother-in-law. Okay. So she's the mom of the husband that died in the Foster's accident when the kangaroo got stuck in the yeast vat.
You know, I don't know if that's what actually happened, and I don't want to know. I just want to assume that is the case.
You can go ahead and assume. So the mother-in-law reminds Aunt that she has to pick up her niece, because the aunt apparently gets confused about which days are which. I don't know.
Oh boy, I hate her already.
So she shows up late to pick up her niece. Her niece is Model, who's got like 4 giant bags of luggage and is got this ridiculous fashionista outfit and bright lipstick and a hat.
Isaac,
and
the same movie.
How did we do
The
this?
same movie, because our brains are on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
The same movie, Isaac.
Aunt and Model arrive at Aunt's house, and there's some beefy middle-aged Australian surfer hunk who gets in an argument with Aunt about their competing surf schools that they run.
Okay.
And he is trying to get her to sell her surf school to him, because they're the only 2 surf schools in town.
Okay.
He's the closest thing to a villain. Well, I guess the mom's kind of a villain. I don't know. This movie sucks. It sucks, Larry.
You don't say.
So mother-in-law tells Model that Aunt was a world champion surfer back in the day and a world record holder. I'm not sure what records you hold as a surfer.
I mean, I'm sure they exist, but a little elaboration would be nice for those of us not in the surf world.
Has she hung the most 10s?
I guess that's kind of interesting. I might want to look into that to see what kind of world record for. I'm going to do that right now, actually, because
I know there's like some places that have like 60-foot waves, and like you could surf the highest wave or something. But aside from that, what would the
largest
record be?
wave surfed unlimited for a female is the first thing that came up. Is this Brazilian surfer Maya Gabeira? Probably saying that wrong. But she broke her own world record. 32 broke her own record by 5.5 feet, surfing a 35.5 foot wave.
That's pretty nuts.
That's a pretty big ass wave. Oh wow! There's actually a picture of it, and it looks fucking insane. Okay, actually, I know. I'm totally on board.
I've seen
now.
some footage of that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking wild. I'm actually looking at that picture, it's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, surfing is scary when it's real waves.
Oh my
and
god!
not just,
there's
5
a
feet.
video, and it's insane. Okay, so yeah, I guess it's who hangs the most 10s on the biggest waves.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh my god, I can't look at this video anymore. I'm kidding. I'm like worried I'm gonna die in a flood now. Jesus Christ. That's pretty cool.
Are you a thalassophobic? Are you scared of the open ocean?
No, I'm not really that. I mean, I feel like if I was in the middle of the open ocean with no boat, I would become thalassophobic immediately. But I don't worry about it. I do have an intense. My greatest fear is suffocating and / drowning, so that kind of bothers me.
There's that, yeah. Okay, so the aunt shows Model to the guest room in the house, and she explains, it hasn't really changed much. It still has some of the model's drawings hanging on the wall from her last visit when she was 10 years ago. Then we cut to her in the bathroom taking a shit when she looks out of the window and sees a shirtless young hunky surfer dude. She gives her bean a quick flick while she's pinching the rest of her loaf.
Christ.
I was really happy about that sentence.
You are married. I was at your wedding. You convinced a woman to say yes to you at an altar. Mind-boggling.
What? Who doesn't want to flick a bean while pooping?
I don't have a bean to flick, so I guess I can't say I know.
You have a corn on the cob.
Oh, just continue. I'm not even going to acknowledge this. This is horrible.
Oh, God. She goes to the kitchen where the aunt introduces her to the young hunky surfer dude, who's the surf instructor at her surf school.
So, and let me guess, it's the first man she's seen here that she's not related to, and she's going to fall in love with him?
Absolutely,
Isaac, the same movie. Isaac, the same
movie.
Stop it. Now, here's a question, though. So is the aunt, Australian, or is she, because I'm curious here now, because, where are they from originally? Are they from Australia, or did the aunt move to Australia, and, what is their parent, what is their lineage? Which is curious.
Yeah,
just
there was 20 minutes of backstory about their lineage.
I assume there's a throwaway line or something. I don't know.
No, not really. But I'm pretty sure the aunt doesn't really have an Australian accent.
Okay, so she's an American who lives there.
I guess so. Some of the ancillary, like the hunky surfer dude, and there's a surfer chick who comes up later. They have Australian accents.
Right. Well, I'm just
the movie's not very heavy.
I'm just curious if they're Americans who moved there, or if they're Australians who had moved to America and this is their roots.
I guess Americans who moved to Australia is the aunt, and then the mom and the model stayed in New York.
Fair enough.
During the introduction, a chicken shows up in the kitchen, and Aunt picks it up and hands it to Model, who panics before hunky young surfer takes it off her hands and puts it outside. So again, just New York Model displaced in the world where a chicken can just run into the kitchen and has to get put outside.
Isaac.
Does your model pick up a chicken?
I think really? So. I don't remember exactly. No. I haven't finished my review, and I watched it about like a little over a week ago. But yeah, I think so.
Oh,
There's
my
definitely
God.
chickens.
So the model pulls out her trusty iPhone XR and asks what the Wi-Fi is.
Oh my God, Isaac!
Oh, just wait, Larry.
Isaac.
The hunky young surfer laughs and says the aunt doesn't have the internet. And the model is aghast and says, well, what do you mean? Like, you don't call it the internet? You call it the kangaroo line or something? Which is the closest thing to this movie.
Oh, God.
And then the aunt goes on like a Luddite speech. I don't want to have to be connected to the entire world when I'm at home. So, I don't have internet here. But if you go down to the surf school, there's Wi-Fi down there because hunky young surfer dude set it up. So, we cut to the model, sitting on a couch at the surf school, with her laptop reading some news stories and social media posts about her epic meltdown and how she fled the country. But though this might be upsetting, Model is comforted by the fact that she's reading this on her stylish MacBook Air, lighter and thinner than a Holocaust victim with twice the battery life, starting at $9.99 at your local Apple
Jesus
store.
Christ, man.
I am sorry.
You had a promising advertising career that you're slowly ruining.
Hey, that advertisement would probably work with a large segment of the American population these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. How are there still Nazis? I don't understand.
It's very
wrong
confusing.
With people? So, Surf Chick, who is more or less the antithesis to Model, comes up and starts talking to her. She wears overalls and a quirky hat with a poof ball on top of it, and she's shoving pop rocks into her mouth and just loud and quirky and goes off on all these tangents. So, yay, Model's gonna have to adapt to be around all these kooky Aussies. It's her journey.
You guys, listeners, you really do not need to listen to next week's episode. Just replace Australia with like a town in Brazil. And honestly, nothing changes. It's mind-boggling how similar these movies are.
I think this is the first time both of our movies have been in the Southern Hemisphere, is that right?
I don't know for sure, but probably.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. So late at night, Model goes to call her mom and trying to leave a voicemail at her office, but she gives up at the last moment and hangs up the phone. The aunt notices this and realizes something is troubling the model. So the next morning, aunt and mother-in-law decide that they're gonna play a game of Cocoa Ball. So Surfer Chick and Model go to an open field and play baseball with coconuts and tomatoes and a wooden baseball bat. This consists of one of the people pitching either a coconut or a tomato, while the batter smashes the food into smithereens with a baseball bat, and then starts running around the bases for no reason because the ball has been smashed and then can't be thrown to tag the person out. I don't understand.
It's probably because of my journey to adulthood from a child, but any of that cutesy shit that families do, I, inherently get angry about. I'm just an angry, hateful piece of shit, but just that sounds so irritating.
Yeah, and it's supposedly to help you feel better about whatever you need to feel better about.
Hakuna Matata. This sounds like a fucking waste.
The model is confused and prissy and I don't understand
what
to do. And she's wearing a dress and heels. Yeah, confused and prissy.
Dress and heels, like me.
That tattooed on your forehead.
If someone paid me, I'd put a tattoo on my forehead. I do the Caesar's Palace Casino thing.
What? How much do you have to get paid? Because I can get some money together.
I'd honestly have to hear the offer. I don't really know. Because it's good. it's pretty awful to do to put a tattoo on my forehead. So I'd have to hear an offer. Really, I don't know that I have a figure in mind.
$10,000 for backdoor bro.
10,000? Okay. Are you crazy to ruin my life? No, it's gonna have to be a pretty high amount there, home dog.
Well, jeez, now you're just asking too
much.
Well,
I'm not sorry.
So, and there's so many montages in this movie. I didn't list them all, but after, like, we establish what's going on, there's a montage of all the women having fun and slow motion of them smashing, like, a dozen coconuts and tomatoes with their baseball bats and running the bases for no reason and laughing and bonding and being happy. Ugh. Like a bunch of jerks.
Yuck. Nothing I hate more than happiness.
Meanwhile, in New York, Model's mother is in a car dicting emails to her assistant. I didn't do the shtick, but her assistant's holding an iPhone again. She asks if anything has come in from Model, and assistant says no, and mother moves on and continues to dictate the rest of her emails. Surf Chick and Model go out to teach Model surfing. Model can't stand up on the surfboard at first, but kind of boogie boards in on a wave and laughs and smiles in slow motion with music playing and another montage. As hunky young surfer dude stands at the beach, watching and smiling while fully tumescent. Aunt gets a call from Model's mom, who's sitting at her desk, I believe at her apartment, behind her MacBook Pro, professional power, while being more portable than ever. Waste your life in an endless spiral of careerish... I messed that up. An endless spiral of careerish bullshit more stylishly ever than something. You'd get the idea. Starting at only $23.99 at your local Apple store.
Are these prices accurate? Because they're insane.
Yeah, Jesus. I looked them up.
Jesus I looked
Christ. Them up. They're not accurate for 2017, but it's consumer. Well, okay, the MacBook. Oh no, yeah, the MacBook Pro is still Intel based and not Apple Silicon. So yeah. The mom and aunt kind of argue, and the mom says, you should sell your stupid surf school, and the aunt's like, you didn't come to the funeral when my husband died, and they're all pissy, and they hang up. So apparently there's a surfing festival coming to town soon, and mother-in-law has gathered a whole bunch of octogenarian former surfers in the aunt's house. It's a little weird. It's celebrating like 100 years of women in surfing, because I think the mother-in-law's grandma was the first woman who is legally allowed to surf in Australia.
God,
I don't know.
Same fucking movie. Now, obviously, different story beat, not surfing, but still, just I cannot believe how this story must just be the same. It's just one way to tell it, I guess. Of displaced teen.
I wonder if they were written by like the same person.
There's no way. I mean, this one, the original version of mine is Logan Paul. We'll get into it, but like, I'm blown away by how many of these story beats are almost identical.
It's pretty easy when you're not good at writing. You're just stealing trope after trope after trope.
At this point, I almost want to drill down to find out where did this whole trope start. Is there like a prototype one of these movies that we just don't know about because we never watched it because we're white boys, not white girls, or any other ethnicity.
Yeah, I think Full Metal Jacket is probably where they started.
Didn't know they could stack shit that high.
Okay, so Model gets asked for her advice on the fashion design of the replica swimsuits. It's supposed to be like the history of different swimsuits over the last 100 years. She's kind of reluctant at first, but then she sort of starts getting into it, and she's in her element, and we start finding out that fashion design is her true passion.
Oh my God, Isaac!
And she doesn't.
You've got to be fucking kidding me! You've got Isaac. I swear to Jesus, demonic Christ, that is the same.
Oh my God!
Exact story. My story is about fashion.
I can't.
She seriously has the same conversation.
Jesus Christ.
We don't have to just give me a new movie and I'll just do that because it's the same thing. Son of a bitch.
That's unreal.
God's sake,
man.
my next...
Does yours have product placement?
I don't remember. I don't use... you have a much better eye for that than I do. I don't...
You have to keep an eye
I think it's a little more generic.
So mother-in-law goes out to the shed and pulls out a 100-year-old sewing machine that belonged to her grandmother. And it's super duper heavy, but they pull it out and Model gets to work on designing swimsuit replicas.
I'm blown away. Keep going.
We get a incredibly long montage of Model designing and sewing and surfing and talking with hunky surfer dude and swimming and hanging out with surfer chick, waxing her surfboard, bleaching her asshole, having a splash fight in the ocean, and finally catching a wave for the first time she's learned how to surf.
Yeah, all those sound accurate.
It's seriously... Yeah, all of them, yeah. I checked, it's a 4-minute montage.
Lord. Yikes.
An entire song plays. There's the song gets quiet in the middle for 2 lines of dialogue, and then the montage just kicks back up again. But the whole thing is 4 minutes long.
That's a long-ass montage. I feel like lately we've had a lot of movies with a lot of montages in them, and that sounds particularly brutal.
Yeah. Back in... so we see, again, the aunt looking out of the window... as it rains or something, and she has a flashback of her husband putting his hand on top of her and kissing her neck while sad music plays. Yeah. In New York, Model Mom goes to Model's bedroom, sits down on the bed, and picks up her bottle of perfume and sniffs it.
A little weird.
Which is really weird, and that's what her missing her daughter? Sniffs her perfume?
A little weird, I guess.
I guess... Especially a husband and wife, if your wife had a perfume or something and then you were a widower, that would, but why would you be attracted, or the scent of your child?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
It's a little odd.
So Anne is waxing her surfboard when the hunky middle-aged rival surfboard school guy shows up and asks for advice about retaining customers for surf lessons. She says some crap about, maybe your surf lesson should be a little more fun and not like military drill sergeant school. Again, Full Metal Jacket. There's a lot of echoes in this movie. He puts on a record and they start dancing. And the aunt says, sometimes I feel like he's slipping away. And he says, he's still out there. I feel him every time I paddle out. So I got really confused and thought, well, maybe he's not dead and he's just a missing person and he's going to show up again?
Yeah, what?
The phrasing of that was all really
it sounds...
weird. And
I took it as spiritual, but I didn't get to watch the movie. Yeah.
It is spiritual. He's dead as a doornail.
I'm hearing that through your lips. I'm not having to... It's odd.
So the next day, Model sees Aunt heading down to the beach with her surfboard. She grabs her gear to go catch up with her because she hasn't surfed with her aunt yet. But mother-in-law stops her and says that the aunt hasn't actually paddled out in over a year because she's sad about her husband or some crap. And she has this a year ago.
So it's still pretty fresh.
Yeah, relatively. I think the rule of thumb is your heavy grief, you kind of need to be able to move past it after a year. And if not, you probably want to seek some kind of counseling. If your life is still severely impacted a year after you lose someone that you're close to. I've heard that's a rule of thumb. Obviously, everyone grieves differently, but Surfer Chick then brings over some of her Surfer Chick friends to try on the swimsuits that the model has been working on. One of them is very upset because the swimsuit is so long, and she was like, oh, can't I wear a bikini? And Model says bikinis weren't invented until the 1940s, and this is from the 1920s or whatever. So the Surfer Chick B grabs some scissors and cuts the swimsuit shorter so you can see more of her legs. The model is super upset by this and yells at her, mirroring the photo shoot at the beginning of the movie, where she's now in the role of the angry, pissy, guy in charge of the fashion thing, and says, why don't you just go ahead and design all the swimsuits yourself if you think you're so smart? And she storms off. And of course, young hunky surfer dude is right there and stops her. And the model says, it's like you people don't know anything about fashion or beauty. And he's like, you people? And goes off on some shtick well, what have your people ever done for you besides humiliate you and judge you? My people are nothing like your people, but we're cool because we hang 10 and make the surfer sign. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, if there's one thing I can say is your romance is definitely more involved than mine.
It's constantly just back and forth with them, like, getting mad at each other and then forgiving each other with virtually no explanation. Or, like, yeah, I forgive you, but that was kind of fucked up. Or, that, like, no nuance to it. It's just like, oh, yeah, you were just cranky. That's
Mine is
fine.
a million times weaker. So at least there's that.
Fair enough. So later that night, the model and the aunt bond. Model asks the aunt if she and her husband ever fought. The aunt says, of course, he used to beat the ever-loving shit out of me if I made his eggs too runny.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, she doesn't say that.
Jesus
She doesn't
Christ.
say that. But if they fight like normal people. And we find out the husband is officially dead as a doornail. And that the hunky middle-aged surfer dude was their good friend. And he was out surfing with him on the day he died. So
Potentially a murder?
But he still can surf. Yeah, nope, slit his throat. The next morning, model walks by surfer chick and apologizes, and they kiss it out a little bit, and it's all good. They're fine. She then goes down to the beach where young hunky surfer dude is petting a couple of wild horses on the beach.
Sure he is. I'm sure he is.
Yep. And they make up and pet the horses while there's sappy music playing and tons of lens flare and, like, sun in the camera and
horsies,
shit.
Please.
Horsies. I'm sorry. Wild horsies. God damn it. Oh. So that night, the model finds a mysterious old key, which goes to a mysterious old shed. Sort of a tonal shift in the movie a little bit. She opens it and starts walking around the shadowy
and out
interior
comes the
very
Babadook.
slowly.
Also Australian, so could be.
Oh, yeah, true. We see it's a shop for making surfboards. Model then turns a corner, and there is a slow reveal of the desiccated corpse of Ant's husband in a chair, strung up with fishing line to look vaguely animated. His cheeks are leathery and sunk in tight around his jawline, and his eye sockets are empty voids.
Yeah, I believe that.
Okay, yeah. It's basically Psycho.
Same movie. Minus the desiccated corpse, but
Oh,
the
don't.
fucking locked workshop.
Okay, so
Same goddamn movie.
oh, really? You have a locked workshop?
There's slightly different
Oh my
circumstances
God.
to get there, but yep, locked workshop.
All right, so there's not a corpse.
Don't say.
Hunky young surfer dude shows up, but like still, it's like this weird, creepy vibe where he says, "Your aunt wouldn't like you being in here."
It sounds a little weird.
He explains that the half-made surfboard on the table is the one he's been making. She asks, "Why haven't you finished it?" And he gets uncomfortable and tells her,
Is this
"We
the
have to
middle-aged
leave."
guy or the guy she's fucking?
The guy she's not fucking yet,
Okay.
but going to. The bean flick on the toilet guy.
Thank you for clarifying. In the way only you know
Yes.
how.
Yeah. I mean, I would take that as an honor if someone was pooping and masturbated to me standing outside their window.
Speaking of that, how's your wife?
Well, she was outside the window, but
Just pooping in the yard, or
No, I'm pooping now.
you are in a different location
Yes.
now. Is there just a toilet there? Honestly, my dream is to podcast on a toilet, so I could just poop and pee and not have to do anything else.
I have a bedpan on the chair. It also elevates it a little bit.
Why do people listen to
You know
this?
what? I'm gonna go in full bedpan. Like I think that my life needs a bedpan. I'm tired of getting up and pooping when I could just be where I am and have a bedpan on hand.
I listened
and
to
poop in
another
that.
podcast, and they were talking about how the one guy is like always trying to simplify his life, and they were saying you're just gonna drill a hole into his bed that he can just roll over and just put his dick into and piss down. Yeah,
That would be great.
yeah, would it?
Or just cath. I'm gonna cath yourself.
Yeah. Well, imagine like the dog or the
It's-
cat. Imagine the cat just coming and disconnecting your catheter in the night.
See, there's downsides. I guess we'd have to put all the pets down.
Christ.
I'm in a dark mood today, as we're about to see
Oh,
again.
no. Oh, Christ.
So,
Oh, boy.
God, right after the weird like a workshop scene, we see the aunt is sitting on her front porch having another dissociative episode, imagining making out with her husband. She then pulls an 8-inch buck knife out from behind her back and slices her palm open. She dips the index finger of her other hand in the blood and puts it on her lips like lipstick. They then kiss again, smearing blood all over each other's faces. Again, tonally just weird.
Fuck. Jesus.
I told you I'm in a dark place, man. It was the only way I could get through this movie. Oh,
yikes.
God.
Are we broken inside? Is that what we're learning? Well, I already knew that.
Profoundly. Meanwhile, Aunt is... I already read that
please
paragraph.
don't read it again.
Oh, man,
Jesus. I want to sleep tonight without just crying.
I do like that image is like from a horror movie.
Wow. Great.
So the next morning, we get another surfing montage. It's probably at least the fifth or sixth montage of the movie. And then model
Yankee
and
Hunk.
Yankee Hung...
Yankee Hunk, yeah.
Yankee
Hung.
Hung surfer dude.
Actually, yeah.
That
does work. Yankee Hung.
Yankee Hung is my porno name.
You know what? Honestly... No, I love you, but we're not two of the most attractive fellas to ever walk the earth. I think Yankee Hung is a good name for like a porn star who's like, yeah, you know, he's there.
No, I feel like have you ever seen clown porn? It comes up on like Halloween.
You have made me. Yes, I have. Because this is, believe it or not, audience, this is not the first time Isaac and I have talked about clown porn.
I think the Yankee Hung has to be a clown who always does clown porn. I'm Yankee Hung. Come suck on my knob.
Okay, all right.
I know
I'm done with this.
work.
Okay, well there's another T-shirt. Is the Yankee Hung shirt? Just a clown with a bulge. I'll get working on an artist for that one too.
So, model and young hunky surfer dude go for a walk along the rocks in kind of a secluded spot, and she even makes a comment like, "This is pretty secluded. Am I safe?" And he's like, "Yeah." That's just kind of weird. They end up in a weird, creepy cave together, and it turns out they used to know each other when they were children and played doctor together when they were kids. Sappy music starts playing, and they share a kiss. Model answers the phone at Aunt's house later in the day, and it's her mom. Her mom says there's a new modeling opportunity that's even better than the ones before, and it's her second chance, and she has to come home tonight and be ready for the photo shoot tomorrow. Model tries to protest and says, I have the surfing festival this weekend, but Mom says we already have the flights booked and hangs up. So now is the big drama of the movie. Model and hunky young surfer dude have a fight where she tells him, like, I gotta go leave and do the model thing, and he's like, oh, well, sure, what, are you sure, what about designing things? What's, be true to your heart, man. And she says, well, at least I'm not scared to pursue my dreams, and you're a punk-ass piece of shit for not being able to finish working on your surfboard because you're sad about your friend dying.
So how old are these people? How old is Model and this dude?
Okay. Model's 18, hunky
37?
surfer dude's, I don't know. So,
okay.
He's in his 20s.
But he was friends with Dad, the aunt's husband?
He's been working at the surf school probably for years, a few years at least, and then, like, the husband was training him how to make surfboards.
I'm realizing that I've forgotten everyone's relationship to one another at this point.
They're all very tenuous.
So, because I thought he was related to the other the middle-aged surf guy. Okay.
No, they're not related. This guy, the hunky young surfer dude, is just the employee of the surf school, but was kind of like, is sort of the protege of the surf instructor, the aunt, and the surfboard maker, the husband. Kind of. It's also not really made very clear. I'm just getting it from context clues. So Model then has a fight with her aunt and says, you're too constipated with grief to even go surfing when that's been your lifelong passion. And meanwhile, everyone around you is languishing in the ennui of your grief.
You're using that philosophy to grieve hard today, huh?
What, constipated?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's Aristotle's an essay on constipation.
Make things so constipated. That's my contribution because I don't have a degree.
That's
I just know pop songs.
You have a degree in
pop songs that haven't been pop songs for, 14, 15 years? I don't know.
I think longer than that, man.
Let me look up.
Like 17. That was early high school. I bet that was like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, 2002, yeah. Shit.
Oh, damn. We're getting old, Larry.
Oh, man. Jeez.
So,
jeez.
Model goes to the airport and is about to get on the small prop plane as a storm is coming in, but she is taking along the giant 100-year-old sewing machine that's far too heavy to take on the plane, the pilot explains. And, well, there's like lightning in the background. It's the trashiest, cheesiest shot. The model looks down into a puddle and sees the reflection of herself standing next to the reflection of her 8-year-old self.
So dumb.
And then even more bizarre, immediately after that, we get a weird reverse montage of, like, sequential things throughout the movie. And it's, like, shots we've seen, like her first putting her feet in the water, her riding a wave for the first time, her kissing the hunky surfer dude. But it's, like, going sequentially backwards. But all the footage is backwards, too.
That is
weird. Really weird. I think they were trying to make a statement, but I don't... Why?
It's an odd choice.
So, we cut to the model coming back to her aunt's house. And she calls out for her aunt, but her aunt doesn't hear her. She just doesn't seem to be around. She then notices the hunky young surfer dude in the backyard and runs to him and says... I couldn't leave, but I'm so afraid I've ruined the best thing I've ever had going on for me. He smiles and says, you haven't ruined anything. Then he honks her boobie and their love is like, fine, they're good. So yeah, very complicated relationship they have. So Model goes back into the house and is trying to find her aunt, and the storm appears to be worsening, but then she notices her aunt's surfboard is gone. Oh no. Cut to the aunt paddling out into the waves in the midst of the storm. The giant waves quickly begin to overwhelm her, and we see slow-motion shots of her falling off her surfboard and struggling in the water, trying to get up to get air. Meanwhile, the model struggles, because she's never driven before, to try to get the aunt's Jeep in gear to drive down to the beach to save her. Finally, she gets it to work, and we see the model paddling out into the stormy seas, which have overwhelmed the aunt, the champion surfer world record holder, but the model, who just learned to surf over the last 2-3 weeks, presumably, is able to just go out in the storm and save the aunt. They're fine.
Okay, whatever. Don't care. I don't care, that's the thing.
We cut to New York, where Model's mom is in her office in her fancy high-rise building. She learns that the model never boarded the plane to come home. She pulls up a video on her desktop from their trip to Australia 10 years ago when the model was 8. In it, Model designed her own dress and is showing it off to the camera. But her mother, who's filming, tells her to model like she taught her. Like, put your shoulders back, have a big smile, make sure to look good. And the 8-year-old model gets very sad. Model's mom might have been overwhelmed by the realization that she has been crushing the passion and soul out of her daughter for her entire life. But thankfully, her desktop is a 27-inch iMac, and the sleek design and 5K Retina display give her comfort. iMac, a computer big enough and powerful enough to hide from your darkest shames, starting at only $19.99 at an Apple store near you. There's so much product
really
placement in this.
Christ.
And it's seriously like a phone, a laptop, the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro, and now the iMac. It's like the whole line.
My movie is heavily phone-based, believe it or not. It's called fucking Airplane Mode. And I don't remember any product placement.
Yeah.
Like, everything has a case.
I'll have
to pay attention now.
Pay attention again.
But you really get them.
I do. It's so bizarre.
You've given Apple a lot of publicity.
So,
as a Samsung user, this distresses me.
Hey, Tim Cook, I'll take a free iPad or whatever.
I like how all of your descriptions are in-depth and thoughtful and list the price, and then when you want one, I'll take an iPad or whatever. Like you don't fucking know every model they have at this point, you dumbass.
Well, take whatever he's got, like, extra in the back room.
Next to him. Just use them as coasters. Fucking corporations are evil. Says the guy who works for one.
So aunt, mother-in-law, and model are now standing knee-deep at the beach, and they chuck some wreaths in the water to symbolize closure about the aunt's husband's death. And
how is the audience supposed to be invested in this? Like, honestly, now, I guess I didn't watch it, but like, how are we supposed to be invested in this death that like does not affect our main character really in any way?
They make it sad with like the flashback or like her weird imagining him like coming up behind her, kissing her neck and stuff, and the whole palm blood thing on the porch. But there's like sad music playing each time.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like doesn't. I don't know. I don't. It feels like a very cheap shot to get an emotional gut punch of like that doesn't really get. As an audience member, I'm not invested in that. Listen, I can watch stuff and get very emotional. I know. I'm a piece of shit, but really, I get it. I get emotionally I get emotionally invested in stuff, but like this just sounds so cheap.
It was very mildly effective, where like when I would see those scenes, I would be like, "Ah, man, it's a bummer."
Sure. I mean, I get that, but
okay,
that's a very I don't know. I guess maybe just not having watched it, just hearing it said back to me is just not doing anything for me. It makes it sound cheaper than it is.
Yeah. It's not like Simba, like, curling up and, like, next to his dad and, like, lifting his paw up and, falling back to the ground. Like, that's heart-wrenching. This is, like, heart...
This seems more like filling time, though. Because it's like, it doesn't really affect the plot. It's not really... Because it gave us a climax that doesn't really give the main character any sort of growth. It's just, like, the culmination of, like, oh, you're a surfer now. But... that's not really. She's like wants to be a fashionista. Her character's very confused. I'm very confused about the direction her character's going, and like this whole thing just seems to be this external crisis not affecting her to just give her something to do because they didn't have a real climax. Anyway, that's my master's thesis. What are you doing next week? Continue. Yeah. Sorry.
No.
I don't know. I'm really annoyed by that, and I don't think it matters, but I don't know why. I just like this doesn't fucking matter to me, and it shouldn't really matter to her. I mean, death's sad, and you don't want your relatives to be sad about the death of other people, but still, like, it feels kind of unearned. It feels like a waste of a scene, you know?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, basically, the whole movie is like the model telling her boyfriend and her aunt like to unclog your shit and get over the dead guy and move on.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But also,
but
she's not. True. That takes place during their fight, where it's not like built up over time. I don't know. Like it's not done well. That's the thrust of it, but yeah, it's shit.
I'm probably not remembering all the details you just told me about this movie, but I don't know. I just hearing about that, it's like, well, I don't. It doesn't sound.
None of it's very.
It sounds unearned. Yeah. Unearned is the word that's coming to mind for me, but I'm probably off base.
So we cut to the Surf Festival fashion show where the swimsuits the model has designed are a smash hit, and we get more slow motion montage.
Fucking movie.
God,
same fucking.
Damn.
Movie.
Do you have a lot of montages?
I think there's a few. I don't remember. Wow, there was a. What was it? Was it the J-Lo one that had montages in it? I just had a movie within the last 3 or 4 that had montages. I remember writing down that there was like 7 or 8.
That sounds like
I don't remember which one it was.
Planner, yeah.
I don't remember if this one specifically has a ton, but yeah.
So we see it's slow motion montage of the models like doing their thing. Going down this makeshift runway on the beach. And then we see a fancy black car pull up, and model's mom gets out of the car and sees the fashion show. And the model is smiling and super happy that it's such a success, and then she catches her mom's eye, and they're both smiling, and they make eye contact, which fixes their relationship. Yep.
So that works.
Then we get a montage of all these surf girl models getting into the ocean and surfing in their flamboyant and flowy swimsuits, which look really wildly impractical to actually surf in. Usually you're in a bodysuit when you're surfing, but whatever. This isn't Surf Corner. Mom and model talk for a hot second on the beach, and yep, their relationship's all good. Model's not going to model anymore. She's going to be a fashion designer. And that's all good. Then Model's mom.
Isaac, that is the same climax. That is beat for beat the same climax. How did we do this?
It's a miracle.
I'm genuinely considering telling you to give me another movie.
No, I need to hear exactly yours and have the same experience you're having this week.
Oh, God's sake.
So the model's mom and the aunt hug, and their relationship is all fixed. Hunky young surfer
I'm
dude.
sure that seems like something you can just fix in a single one-shot scene. Sure.
Yep. No, the end of this movie, that's really where it, as not good as it's been, just everything getting wrapped up with a little bow at the end, and like all of the relationships are fixed. All of the problems are just like solved by people hugging. Because Hunky Young Surfer Dude reveals that he finished the surfboard and he gives it as a gift to the model. And now he's reopening the workshop as his own workshop.
Great.
And then Ant and Hunky Middle-Aged Surfer Dude have decided to go into business together and not be rivals anymore. Model reveals to her mom and aunt that she got accepted into college for fashion design. And then Model and Aunt run out into the surf with their boards. And the movie's over.
Christ.
Yeah. That was
how nice that everything got wrapped up in a nice little bow.
Yep.
I mean, I don't. That most of these fucking movies are like that. These family friendly, feel good movies all wrap up in a nice bow, but still,
it was such a beat for beat. Like within 3 minutes, everything gets wrapped up, and just like boom, 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 boom. I don't know.
He even redeemed the villains. At least mine, the villains were kind of defeated.
Yeah, and there ends up being actually no villains. And all the villains have face turns, and everyone's completely happy, and everything's worked out good for everybody. It just, there's no consequences to anything in the movie, ever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And there was no real, I don't know.
I think feel-good movies are just bad.
Yeah, just you kind of need conflict for a story to be interesting, and real conflict instead of a silly fight that is like turned off with a hug.
Like, I know we're two very cynical people, and so that seems like a very on-brand thing to say. But we've watched a few now in this show. I'd have to think back to all of them, but I'm thinking back to A Cowgirl Story specifically, because that was a feel-good movie riddled with fucking problems, and still among the worst Bowles movies I've had to watch. But like at the end of it, everybody redeemed, everybody's happy, no consequences. The dad had like a cast, and like that was the worst consequence of the movie, was the dad had like a sprained foot. And just like, it's so unsatisfying to me to see everything at the end be like, yay, everybody's happy, nobody's the villain, everything's fixed. It's so, I don't know, something about that. It's just like, it just makes for a bad movie.
Yeah, like, you kind of need something. Like at the end of Finding Nemo, when the dad just dies of leukemia. Like, you kind of need some kind of, like, consequence or conflict or some downturn. Some meaningful difference.
Right. It doesn't have to be that everything ends in a downer or everybody, has loss, but there should be part of that does have a consequence on a movie, like on a character in a movie. Like, I know, you could say that maybe the dead husband is in this one, but like the movie started with him dead. So the loss that's being experienced is like not part of the story. Yeah.
An example that comes to mind for me is The Big Lebowski, where Donnie dies.
Yeah,
where,
exactly.
Like
God, that's such a good movie.
He's a pretty much ancillary character, but he's throughout the movie. And his death hits kind of hard. And then there's stuff with Walter and the dude afterward, where
because Donnie is like the best of them somehow.
Yeah,
by just like being Donnie.
Yeah, and then like the movie, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a happy ending necessarily, but like they kind of go back to their lives, but without Donnie.
I would say it is kind of a happy ending because, their adventures resolved and they've like had ups and downs. And that's a great comedy and it's like a great detective movie. Still can't believe it's a fucking detective movie, but it is. And yeah, like they've experienced loss and they have to go on without Donnie. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And
then movies like this, just everybody's happy, everybody's changed for the better, and no one's experienced like anything permanent. It is part of the like drama of the
like,
film.
yeah, or one. This would be a really cheap way to improve this, because they also leave it on a cliffhanger, because she says, oh, I got accepted into college for design, and they're like, oh, where? I got accepted to 2 schools, one in New York and one here in Australia. And then the mom and Anne are like, well, which one did you pick? And then she grabs her surfboard and runs into the surf without saying. So yeah, that's dumb. But like a really easy way to add like a not perfect ending is, yeah, she's going back to New York for the school, and she has to leave Hunky Surfer Dude, and they're not an item. And just,
yeah,
like that's still cheap, but at least that's like a hard decision she's had to make, but maybe the best one for her, even though it's, there's a downside to it.
Dan Harmon, who he created Rick and Morty Community, we've talked about him occasionally. I'm sort of a fan of his and sort of not. I don't know, but I have a complicated relationship with him. But he's done something called the Story Circle, which you may or may not have heard of, and it's sort of related to Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and like the end of the Story Circle, because it goes with like crossing the threshold, road of trials, meeting the goddess, all those sort of things that kind of make up a traditional story. I think Lord of the Rings is a good example because a lot of people know that, and it's pretty, I say generic, but it's more the framework of like how that sort of story works. And the last one is Change, and that's where you come home, you come back from the road of trials, you come back from the adventure, air quotes, if using Lord of the Rings as an example. They destroy the ring, and they come home, and in the books of Lord of the Rings, home is different, and in the movies, they're different. In the books, it's both. But, like, they come home you come back from an adventure, and you're different. You've, changed fundamentally on the road of trials because of the things that happen to you. So for a movie like this, now, obviously, it's far more low stakes, and it's designed for probably 12-year-olds, so we're taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
But it's like makes for a totally unsatisfying experience when it's like everybody's happy and no one's had to do anything to get that other than just like live in Australia.
Yeah, the model has learned how to be a chill surfer chick, and that's her trial that she's gone through, and the epic change. And Lord of the Rings, especially in the movie version, because I haven't read all of the books.
Mm-hmm. They're a little dry. I love them, but they're a little dry.
The Frodo not being able to go back to the Shire and has to go live a different life.
Yeah, and there's a great scene, because I just watched the extended editions again like a month ago, and I think it's really well shot where all the 4 hobbits are back in the Shire. They've had their adventure, and they're sitting at a bar, and like all the other hobbits are happy. And there was this great scene in the first movie where they're like all where Pippin and Merry are dancing, everybody's getting drunk and having fun, and the 4 of them are sitting in a bar in just total silence, like looking around, realizing that they've changed so much that this world they knew is totally different to them. Yeah. And there's just the looks on all their faces are really telling of like the shit they've seen. Like they've fucking fought in wars. They've been through the hardest trials anyone can imagine, and it's changed them fundamentally.
Yeah, and it's still ostensibly a happy ending. The good guys won, the bad guys were vanquished. Yeah. It's a little weird with Frodo, but the rest of the guys are home. Sam's gets to marry the love of his life and all that stuff. Right. But yeah, it's complicated. Right. It's not like tie everything up with a bow where everyone just hugs or smiles at each other, or he opens up the surfboard shop again and everything's fixed. There are no problems remain.
Yeah, and it's a little unfair to compare the Riptide to Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
But that said, it's just, I'd say it's more in storytelling and what makes for compelling television.
Yeah. Riptide, I don't think for almost anyone you could make this kind of movie and have it ever be great, but you could make it decent. You can even make it good. Right. And this was pretty bad. I gave it a 2.5 out of 10. It's coherent. Mm-hmm. The acting's actually okay. No one's really terribly bad. No one stands out as really good, but none of the acting stood out as like in Scales, Mermaids Are Real. Basically all of it was horrendous.
The couple of scenes I saw from that, really, boy, they stick with you.
Oh boy. But yeah, this was, the acting was fine. It wasn't a sore thumb. Mm-hmm. And overall, it was decently put together. There's some cheesy stuff, like the backwards thing I didn't get. But
That's weird.
it definitely could have been worse. But it also, I don't know, you tweak a few things here and there, and this could have been a 4 out of 10 easily, or 5 out of 10.
Right, because we've somehow reviewed the same fucking movie in different continents. But there is something to that. I think maybe the reason that story circle thing speaks to me is just because, like, the whole movie is about these people are, like, stuck in a rut and they have to go either willingly or against their will on a road of trials to have this sort of life-changing experience. And then both times it's very unsatisfying of, like, hooray, everybody's happy and everything's great.
Real quick fix I didn't think of until now. You, for whatever reason, conjure up the model ends up in the water during the storm and is drowning. And the surfer ant has to get in the water to save her.
Yeah, and then she's having a flashback to her husband. And
but she's using her, and it would also just make more sense because the award-winning surfer would be able to handle the storm instead of the 3-week I just learned how to surf girl.
Yeah, baby surf, right.
But she's forced to save her niece and to get in the water, and that's how she gets over that grief block of surfing.
Right.
Like, instantly, that bumps it from 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, just anything to make, like, the stakes seem like they matter. When it doesn't matter, it's just, then I feel like I've wasted my time. Like, I haven't, it's not a satisfying story experience. Mm-hmm. I don't know, we're probably going way more in depth about it than we need to, but it's just interesting to, because we had a very similar experience these last 2 weeks. We're going to talk about next week. And I think
there's a lot to be learned from, obviously great storytelling, but there's also a lot to be learned from storytelling that's lacking a lot of things and trying to figure out what exactly is broken with it. What doesn't work? Why doesn't it work? Why is it not satisfying? So I think, even though you don't expect this movie to, ever be an Oscar contender, I think it makes sense to, pick at its flaws a little bit and get in depth a bit.
Right. I think there's something inherently interesting about the story where a main character has to grow and change to overcome even something minor, just like stuck in a rut in this model lifestyle, and I'm unhappy with the relationship with my mother. Like, I think there's something to that, that again, it's fucking Riptide. Nobody expected it to be great, but I feel like a little bit of effort goes a long way when there's, like, a solid premise of, like, human change, where it's not doom, where the trial to overcome is the devil, or like a demon from hell with grenades. Like, maybe it's just me. I've always been really interested in, like, coming of age stories and stories about humans changing with their life changing, which I said very poorly, but you get what I mean. So I'm maybe just bummed that it could be better with just the slightest bit of effort, as opposed to just slapping it together to give everybody a happy ending and then nothing.
I think a great example of a lifestyle change story that there's a satisfying movement from the beginning to the end in the person's life, but it's also not wrapped up with a little bow and everything is magically fixed. But the Jack Nicholson Helen Hunt movie, As Good as It Gets.
Yeah, I need to finish that. I only got halfway through it a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, it's like there's a progression. There's a lot of growth, but it's not like, oh, everything's fixed. Everything's great. Everyone gets to move on completely happy. It's just, it's not a happy ending. It's a happier ending than the start. And that's definitely better, more realistic storytelling.
When you're telling a story like this that you're supposed to, I think the idea is to relate to it. Where, because everybody experiences loss and change and growth and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, people do. And you want it to be some kind of relatable, because nobody gets out of this life thing unscathed. And it sure sounds like every character in this movie pretty much gets everything they want and life's great forever,
Yep, exactly.
And that's like the part where it's like, well, then I check out. I check out on even anything good that could have been in it. It's just, well, okay, fuck it, great. Why did I waste of time?
Amen. All right, well.
Yeah, that was a weird tangent, but fun.
No, yeah, it was good. I'm glad we got we got some meat off the bone from Riptide.
Right. And now we don't have to do it next episode.
Shut up. I want to hear all about airplane mode, baby.
Oh, boy.
All right. Now, 2 weeks from now, I mean, next week is airplane mode, and you can't weasel out of it. There's no chance.
Fuck.
But 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be covering another movie, and you're going to let me know what that is.
So, a little bit of background. I hate zombie television and movies.
There's very few good ones.
I've always kind of been afraid of zombies. As like a kid, when I was a kid, I saw what was Resident Evil when I was way too young for it, and it was like, no, this is very scary for me. But somehow I keep getting roped into playing these zombie video games with my friends, so I've got zombies on the brain. And speaking of Resident Evil, Isaac, there's a lot of Resident Evil films. And I'm thinking, like, I better knock these out with you so I don't ever have to watch them, because that's a very easy thing that I will hate. And while I was looking through which Resident Evil film to give you, because there's 2 or 3 on Netflix, I pulled up on Rotten Tomatoes, and I want you to know why I picked this one in particular. So pull up Rotten Tomatoes, please.
All right.
In addition to Netflix. And I want you to look up Resident Evil Afterlife. And tell me why I picked this for you. Just from the Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I'm scared it's going to be a 0. My internet is slow. Fuck you, Comcast. Resident Evil Afterlife?
Yes. Did you get to it?
My computer's still being slow.
Christ. It's done when you get to the page.
It's got a low score. I'm confused, though.
Just the vapid look on her face in the still for the trailer.
Okay.
It's just she's just staring at the camera, totally emotionless. Like, she's looking at the director saying, what am I supposed to be feeling in this scene? It's something about, I guess it didn't hit you as hard as it hit me, but I opened the page and I just started laughing at the look on Mila Jovovich's face of just, like, confusion about, what am I doing in this scene? Where are the CGI zombies to punch? So yeah, your movie this week is Resident Evil Afterlife.
Let me read the description.
And I'm pretty sure it's like the 4th or 5th installment in this series, by the way.
I do have quite the boner for Mila Jovovich, or whoever.
That's unfortunate.
So I'll be enjoying that. In search of a rumored safe haven, Alice takes refuge with a group of survivors in a Los Angeles prison surrounded by hordes of undead. If that's not the most generic goddamn.
I think this is like the 4th one of these Resident Evil movies.
Yeah. I think the first one's supposed to be like decent for a zombie movie, right?
It deeply upset me as a child.
I don't know.
I'm going to actually say you can never give me that, because I don't think I'll be able to review it without fucking crying.
Specifically the first one?
The first one? Yeah, and also Mars Attacks. Those 2 movies.
Oh, yeah, that one got me.
Mars Attacks I saw when I was 6 at my grandparents' Christmas party, and I literally had nightmares about it until I was 11. I'm not kidding. Yeah. I was so terrified of that comedy movie.
I know. I've seen it since, and it is really funny as an adult. But yeah, as a kid, I was scarred.
I cannot ever watch that or Resident Evil. Like, I can't.
It's so funny, though.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. Like, I won't. People have tried to put it on. I've just left the room. Like, I can't do this. I cannot watch fucking Mars Attacks.
Was it where they vaporize people into skeletons?
Yep.
That's the one.
Deeply terrified me as a child.
I still get uncomfortable when that comes up, but I can
I
watch it.
don't like seeing clips of it on you. Like, I see just the alien just make me uncomfortable because I think of being 6 and terrified. I remember I was standing there on the couch just transfixed at this fucking movie, and somebody like tapped me on the shoulder, and I jumped and screamed. And no one turned the movie off, but I kept stood there and kept watching it because I was 6 and dumb and didn't know any better.
Oh boy.
Yep. So, yeah, Resident Evil Afterlife. We're going to get you slowly through the Resident Evil so I never have to watch any of this.
Jesus. All right, well, it's going to be basically a duplicate episode next week, and then Ookie Spooky Zombies coming up after that. Oh, man.
Well, God. Yeah, next week is going to be interesting to hear how you relate to the story beats.
I can't wait for that.
It's eerie how close they are, man. Our brains.
Remember to look for the lack of or the existence of product placement, because I'm also curious about that.
I'll keep an eye out.
All right, so thank you so much for listening. We love you. We really appreciate it. We're coming up on 10,000 all-time listens.
Wow.
Which, like, That's just a hair behind, like a few orders of magnitude behind Mr. Rogan, but we're getting there. We're going to catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're getting to Mark Maron levels any day.
That's still a crazy number. In my head.
For a show that we don't really advertise, we don't really do a whole lot for, we just kind of do to have fun and hopefully people enjoy it. And I'm really glad people seem to listen to it and like it.
So thank you for listening. Do the Facebook, do the Twitter, send us an email, bowsandnetflix@gmail.com. Rate, subscribe, hit your grandmother, whatever you need to do to get the word out there.
Oh, man. We're going to get swatted.
Oh, by grandmother?
Yeah, sure.
I guess we deserve it.
Probably.
All right, well...
All my grandmothers are dead, so, I mean...
Oh, yeah, I'm out of grandmothers now. I got a grandmother-in-law.
Well,
She's still kicking. She's a rockette. She's still kicking.
I don't have a smell you later joke for that, so I guess just smell you later.